Hello everyone, welcome to week 5. We are a third of the way through the semester. This week you're going to be beginning a project, a team project that will take place over the next few weeks. You'll be working pretty closely together, so if your team has worked out how to communicate with one another and how to share ideas and everything over the last few weeks, then you should be good to go for this particular assignment. If you're still trying to work those things out, you really need to get that nailed down soon, because this is a pretty extensive project and it is a pretty large portion of the things we're doing this semester. So let's jump in and talk about what this project is. So in this project, you will create a product or service that solves a known problem. You'll write a detailed description of the product or service. You will create a project proposal memo and pitch the product or service to potential investors. After your product or service has been approved, you will write instructions for using the product. So you can see there are several pieces to this project. You're going to spend a little more time this week focusing on coming together as a team and deciding on what your product or service will be, what it will look like, or how it will act, how it will work. And then you'll be jumping into the other parts, writing the proposal memo, developing a pitch presentation, and then writing your instructions. So this week, to start with, you're going to work on designing your product. So to do that, you want to identify a problem. It can be a problem that is in your field of study or work, or something you experience in everyday life, or someone who you know and whom you care about experiences, and you would like to find a way to solve that problem. So explore the problem first. What makes it a problem? How does it affect the work or your area of life that it affects? Don't just say, okay, it is a problem to do X, but really get into the whys behind it. What makes it that problem? Why is it an inconvenience, or does it, hold you back in some way? What is that? And then once you really understand your problem, you can start developing a solution to that problem. And that's where you are going to be developing your product or service idea. So what products, like a gadget, an app, a piece of equipment, whatever, or a service could address this problem? In what specific ways could this solution counteract the ways the problem affects you? Take some time and brainstorm those ideas. It's really probably a good idea to do this first on your own. So spend maybe Monday really kind of coming up with your own ideas before you present them in your team folder. Somebody in the team is going to need to create a document where you guys can share your different ideas. You can have a discussion, whether your discussion is on the document itself via the comments, whether you have an alternative form of meeting that you want to use. That's up to you. I know that many of the teams have put together different chat groups, Discord groups, whatnot. That's great. Whatever is working for your team. If you need to set up a Zoom meeting, you can use Zoom, you can use Google Meet. There are other things that you can use so that your team can discuss these ideas together. But it would be a good idea to brainstorm some ideas on your own first before jumping into the group discussion. So when you do have some ideas, take them to your team. Don't wait too long, because the first portion of your assignment is due on Thursday. So you do have to get some discussion going. That's why I said like take Monday, but then Tuesday and Wednesday should really be some discussion and coming to a decision on what problem you want to work on, because everyone will be bringing different problems. Choose one that you all want to work on, brainstorm some possible solutions, and decide on one solution that you want to pursue. At this stage, this is a very early stage of the project, so you may find that the solution you think you're going to develop doesn't really come together the way you thought it was going to at this point, but right now you need to have a starting place. And that starting place is going to be this first part where you are going to explain what the problem is that you're working on and what solution you think might address that problem. After you have that, and that's what you're submitting on Thursday, is it just any general document? It's right there in your team folder. Just call it your problem solution statement, and then put whatever problem and potential solution your team has chosen to work on should be in that document. That's what I'll be looking at to make sure that all the teams are kind of on the right track with this. And I will be looking at those Thursday afternoon, and then I will, if there's anything that I see that is not quite going with the goals of the assignment, I will contact that group right away. If I don't contact your group right away probably by Friday afternoon at the latest, assume that your project is fine, that your problem and solution so far are fine, and go with that. So after that, though, you're going to be writing product descriptions. So this description needs to be more detailed than what your problem solution statement is. So your problem solution statement is really just kind of giving me the heads up on what your group is thinking. Your description is where you start working out more of those details of what exactly this solution is going to look like, whether it's a product or a service. You're going to be giving a description of the whole thing, how the different parts work, how each part contributes to the functioning of the whole. Effective descriptions rely on accuracy. There is a section in your your textbook in chapter 14 specifically on writing descriptions, and that begins on page 388 and goes through 397. Yeah, 397. So pages 388 through 397 give you a lot of really good information about writing good descriptions. Make sure that you are using that portion of chapter 14 as your team works on writing the description. Again, in your team folder, you want to create a document that is labeled something along the lines of product description, service description. If you already have a name for your product or service, you could use that. But that's the document that I will look at for this part of the assignment. So when you are writing your descriptions, of course you want to take into account your audience. And what do you know about your audience? So right now you're presenting this description to me. So you have to be thinking about me as an English humanities type professor. What are some things that I might already know, or would I be unfamiliar with what you're proposing? So if you are doing anything in the engineering, anything in like animation, game design, those kinds of things, you want to be a little more detailed than if you were, creating something less technical, I guess. But in any case, you want to assume for this project that your audience has some unfamiliarity with the topic and probably is familiar with the problem in some way or another, unless it's a very work-specific related problem. In general, most people will be at least somewhat familiar with various problems. So your details are crucial. You need to choose the details that are going to help the reader visualize the specifics. Because right now, basically, all you have are words. However, you can include visuals in this. You can use analogies to make one thing easier to understand. You can add visuals, so if you have a sketch or an outline, like some outline drawing of something, some graphics that could help, that would be a good thing to include in your description. You want to use concrete nouns, things that are tangible, physical associations, sense of reality, have common meaning. So don't choose things that are easily misunderstood, but things that have a commonly understood meaning, that people would be familiar with and would be able to visualize in their heads. You want to use active verbs that clarify who does what, not passive verbs that something is done by or done to someone or something. But passive or active verbs are what you really want to go for. You want to offer precise meaning. You want to suggest action and movement. You want to add some zing, some urgency through your verbs that you choose. You want to make useful comparisons. So if you have an abstract concept, an abstract idea involved in your product or service, you want to make those ideas tangible. You want to help create mental images. You want to make connections between what is familiar and what is unfamiliar to help people understand what's unfamiliar to them by using things that are familiar. And you want to engage the imagination. So these should be imaginative solutions. You want to assume that when you are creating your solution, you want to assume that you have all the knowledge, all the expertise, all the supplies, equipment, whatever, everything you need available to you. So you want to let your minds go as far as they can, be as big as they can, in thinking of the solutions that you want to develop or the products that you want to develop. Don't let things hold you back, basically. And then when you're describing it, you want to make sure that you are engaging the imaginations of the people who are reading your descriptions. Right. So you will need to have another meeting of some sort, whether it's a real-time meeting or a document chat or something that you are all contributing to on over a period of a few days, because ultimately you're going to need to design your product or service, choosing the solution that seems to best address the problem that you identified. So this may look, at this point, after you've spent some more time working on it, you've been working on describing it, you may have something that looks a bit different or even quite a bit different than the original thing that you submit on Thursday, and that's okay. We should expect that there would be some differences as you spend more time talking about it and really thinking about what you can develop and what you want to do. But ultimately, you are going to draft that service description. It is a draft. It does need to be as well done as you possibly can. It is going to be evaluated as it is, but you will have a chance to revise it and include it in your proposal and instruction materials. So you will have, it's not the final time that you're going to be using this description. So your assignments that are due this week: on Thursday, you should have submitted you should have in your team project folder by noon on Thursday. You should have a statement of the problem and potential solution, whether it's a product or a service or a combination of both. That's an informal document, so it doesn't need to have any kind of formatting to it, any specific formatting to it. I don't expect you to have like a beautiful design or anything like that. You just need to simply share what the problem is, why it's a problem, how it affects the lives of people in that field or in everyday life or whatever. You can't just say we're working on the problem of parking on campus, but go into more detail. And parking on campus is not a good topic anyway, because nobody can ever do anything about that. It's a pain. But anyway, you want to give an explanation of the problem, and then you want to share what you think your product or solution will be. But again, it is informal, so it doesn't have to be an essay form or any other kind of specific thing. Your product description is a more formal document. You need to give it a design of your choice, formatting of your choice, but it does need to have an obvious design, obvious format that is consistent. Use with your choice of font and any images. They should be well integrated together. All of the contributors' names must be on both of these documents, whether you put it at the top of the document, at the bottom of the document, in the header, in the footer. I don't care about that so much as I care about seeing all of the contributors' names on the document. That helps me know who's participating and who to give the credit to, so that I'm not just randomly assigning points to whomever. Okay. I've already mentioned the chapter 14 pages that are important for this week's work. Next week, chapter 5, researching your subject, pages 77 through 100, will be valuable to you, very useful. So I would suggest going ahead and reading those throughout this week, because you will also have another chapter next week that you'll want to be using. So those are our assignments this week, and I will leave you with one of my favorite late poets and thinkers and beautiful people, Maya Angelou, with "If one has courage, nothing can dim the light which shines from within." So every once in a while I like to have these positive thoughts, encouraging words at the end of our presentations. And this is a good time in the semester because people are starting to hit that sort of almost mid-semester dip. And a lot of colleges are getting ready for their fall breaks, and GRCC doesn't have a fall break. So give you a little encouragement where I can. Right. If you have any questions, any concerns, any comments, any worries, any stories you want to share, please contact me. I am available to you. You can meet with me on Zoom if you would like to. You can call my Google Voice number and talk to me that way, or leave a message if I'm not able to talk to you. You can also text that number if texting is better for you. Just make sure when you do text that you identify who you are, so I don't think it's some rando stranger weirdo that has somehow got my number, because that's been happening. So just kind of let me know who you are when you send your text, and I'll be glad to talk to you. I always feel very disconnected from students in online classes unless I get a lot of communication from students and with students, and I really do enjoy talking to you and meeting with you. So please, just the lines of communication are open for you, and I am here to do whatever I can. All right, I hope that you all have a beautiful week, and enjoy the crisp fall weather.